What is good, YouTube, and welcome back to another 7 Nights video. And I'm making this video because there was some big news today, because if you didn't know, if you log in, you should have 3,000 free rubies in the mail because of some changes in the update schedule and the direction of, I guess, the patches coming to the game. So originally, the patches that were listed on the main 7 Nights Rebirth official forum, which has all of the announcements compiled into this folder, or I guess this forum here, you're going to see that the biggest one we had was this new patch that featured a lot of new skins, which a lot of people were excited about. But there were two things that a lot of people, especially in Korea, were complaining about. The first one was the Whetstone. So the Whetstone is basically a way to increase the substats of your gear furthermore. If you are from Epic 7 or just from any other game that has like a reforging system, it's a way where you could basically reforge your gear essentially. And this would make it so that your characters can just get stronger, and you can even fine-tune the characters, as they said. Now, there were rules about this, so people were pretty upset about that because it looked like it would be very grindy and very whale friendly. And also, if you look at it, the Whetstones were only going to drop from raid 11 to 15. And I know a majority of the player base, it might not include you out there, but most of the players in the game right now are still farming raid 10, because raid 11 to 15 requires multiple characters or multiple dupes, multiple copies of multiple characters, which makes it a pretty hard barrier to entry. And I think they wanted to do this because, the Whetstones would make your character stronger so you could get into like the harder areas of content, but it was kind of counterintuitive because it drops from the area of content you're trying to break into. So I think that's why they were complaining about it a lot. But they were saying that they were going to add this world raid. So world raid is another system that you'll see down below. It is basically with the new arena system. This arena system is basically like a global arena system where essentially global will be able to fight against Korea, and there's like more rewards, so more rewards are always better. And I'm not going to talk about it too much in depth until it comes out, but what I want to talk about today is raid. So world raid is basically going to be 2 rounds. It says the game consists of 2 rounds. In the first round, it says that you are assigned a specific rank based on how you break through the strategy. I don't know if that's like AI translation or what, but I assume it's 2 waves. And then in the second round, you receive additional score based on the rank you were assigned earlier. So I assume you'll need 2 teams. So this area of content, from how it's worded, sounds like it would be very hard for new players. And this would be the main way you actually get this Whetstone. And you can actually see that there's no levels here in the screenshot. So I actually have the screenshot up on the screen here. It just says on the bottom right here, it says enter. So you can't actually, choose the level, it looks like. Maybe there's a previous window where you can or something like that, but I assume that this would be like a super hard area of content. And because this was the main source of Whetstones, or planned to be, this would have been, very hard for new players to do as well, to even upgrade their gear. So it kind of didn't make too much sense. And I think that's like where the big complaints came about, especially like, because it would just make the gap between the whales and the free-to-plays even bigger than it already is. So that's like the main concern with a lot of the players here, which was very, very, loud and clear from the Korea side. And, what they decided to do is, earlier today, the PD, I don't know what this means, something director, personal director, pushing director, something director, I don't know, said that they are going to be looking at our feedback and posting the updated notes, which would just talk about what they're changing. And they did post it, so you can see this is where we get those free rubies, because they did decide to give it to us as compensation. But what they said in this is that they are actually withdrawing the Whetstone and World Raid completely from the upcoming update. So pretty similar to the Advent Expedition thing, which was also postponed. Because they said that rather than rushing ahead, they want to basically think about what is important now. So, they talk about why they remove it. It could be just PR. We don't really know why they're removing it. There might have been something within the dev team that they said, that made them not want to push it out right now. But what they do say, which is the more important part, is because they're, postponing this, what they want to prioritize now is equipment convenience. So they want to make it so that Guild Wars defense teams will allow equipment save for each hero. So I don't know if this means presets like Etheria Restart, where you have like PvP presets and PvE. I think that is kind of required in this game because one, like gear cost to like change is annoying, but it's just like super inconvenient to keep changing your gear over and over, regardless if there was gear cost or not. Even if there wasn't a gear cost to unequip, just having to manually re-equip everything for every Guild Wars and then take it off when you're farming raid. And then if you take it off while you're doing Guild Wars, you can't be background battling and you don't have enough time in your day. Well, it's just really annoying. So hopefully they add like some sort of presets, not just to Guild Wars, but also for Arena, which would be pretty cool. And they also say they want to ease the burden of equipment growth. So they give us some, examples of what they might do. They might allow us to randomly, selectively change the substats of certain equipment. So kind of like Epic 7's, refining system. I forget what it's called, the gem box thing that allowed you to change your substats or even reset the enhancement of specific equipment. Also, it was in Epic 7 as well. And also even minimize random elements of stats when crafting equipment. I don't know exactly what this means. Maybe it means like you can choose 3 substats out of 4 to roll into. I highly doubt it, or they can just like lessen the gear rolls, I guess. I don't really know what they're talking about, but this is what they want to do. Now this is just basically what they're saying, so we don't really know how they'll implement it. In fact, they might not implement it at all. We'll have to see. I've seen a lot of games where they like postpone something and just never implement it ever again and just completely scrap it, so that is possible. But regardless of that, I think for the majority of the player base, I don't think most people really care because there's already a lot of content in the game that you have to go through, and a lot of people are pretty much just overwhelmed with it at times, I'd say, especially with the Guild Wars situation, which I think is like a bigger thing that needs to be fixed. But rubies, free 3,000 rubies, we'll take those. That's a lot, honestly. They could have gave us like 1,000. I think people would still be like, oh, thank you, but 3,000 is actually crazy. So I'm very happy about that. But they also have like the update maintenance, which I'll talk about as my last point. Basically, this is going to tell us what is coming with the maintenance tomorrow. So they are giving us these skins, 6 new costumes, new story event, which is pretty cool. I think this means we get one right after the Kyle one ends, which is nice because now we can farm more stuff and get a lot of EXP for fodder. They're also giving us 2 raid up summons, so it's not Yunhee. So they said it was like Yunhee in like the previous one. Let me find it because I said that Yunhee banner was coming. And if you look at this, guys, I'm not crazy. New legendary costume Yunhee and raid up summon, right? So I assumed this was going to be Yunhee's raid up summon, no? Doesn't that just make sense? So maybe it means like this costume you have to summon for with gacha. But like when you phrase it like this, it just seems like it's going to be in a banner, right? So I think people are gonna be upset about that when they see this now, because I don't think people knew that it wouldn't be Yunhee. But apparently it's not Yunhee. It's going to be Chris. Why are we getting Chris? No one cares about Chris, really. I mean, they did say they're gonna buff him, so maybe he's gonna be amazing, but who really knows? So yeah. So now they're doing the raid free entry buff. You're getting 5 per day from the pack. Oh my god, pay to win, the game's over. Just kidding, but that is what's happening. And yeah, that's pretty much it. They just say hero Chris skill adjustments. I don't really know where these adjustments are. I assume they'll talk about it tomorrow when they release the kit with Kyriel, right? Is that her name? Kyriel, yeah. So guess we just have to wait for tomorrow, which I'll make another video for as soon as it comes out for you guys out there. But yeah, just wanted to talk about it today. There's a lot of stuff. Free 3,000 rubies, huge dub. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about these changes and the delay of the content. I personally don't mind because, I'm kind of not burnt out from the game. It's more like there's so much to do in the game always that I don't really want to think about another area of content right now. But, it's been only a month and there's so much content, it feels like, which is good and bad. But I think taking it a little bit slower might be nice for a lot of the casual players out there. So, yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next video.